welcome to Webinar Wednesday here at Lulu. Thank you so much for deciding to spend some time with us today. We have a really great session that I am excited to share with you all, but no one has kicked off the chat yet. Who will be brave enough to say hello first? We'll see who will take me up on that. But I will do a little bit of housekeeping before I kick it over to my colleague, Tim. So today we are talking about best practices with Lulu Direct, and we're going to leave a ton of time at the end for questions. If you have any questions specifically about your connection with Lulu Direct or how you're using it, or maybe you haven't started using it yet, but you want to, this is the place for you. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Lonnie, gold star to Lonnie for saying hello first. Hey, Lonnie, thank you for joining us. Don't leave Lonnie lonely. Hop in there and say hello as well. We are going to take questions. You see the chat, and we also have a Q&A tab as well. Feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A tab as Tim goes through his session. This will also be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. So if you're not following us there, you can find us on YouTube at lulu.com. You can see all of our webinars there and catch it on the live stream if you miss out. Hello, Sabrina. Thank you so much for joining us. So Tim has very graciously agreed to join me today. This is actually his second time joining. I saw him give this presentation once, and I thought it was so good. I was like, I had to call him up to the big leagues, had to call him up to our webinar series. So you guys are in for a treat today. Tim is our senior e-commerce specialist on the Lulu team, and I thought it would be really helpful to get the perspective from our end on the best way to interact with the platform, interact with Lulu Direct, and in those rare instances that you do need customer support, your customers need some support, Tim is going to give you some best practices on how to handle that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Tim. And Tim, thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate your time.
Hello, everyone. Yes, as Chelsea said, I am the senior e-commerce specialist at Lulu. It's great to meet everyone here. If you've ever submitted a ticket with us, you've probably talked to me. And if not, if you ever do have a question or inquiry, I'm probably one of the few people that are going to answer it. We are small, but we are a very dedicated team. All right, so first off, I kind of want to cover a little bit exactly what is Lulu Direct. Not everyone might not be here knowing exactly what Lulu Direct is. You know, we do have a lot of business lines. Things can get a little confusing if you're not fully caught up and aware of what each of them do. So what Lulu Direct is specifically is our e-commerce suite of tools that allow you to engage in direct-to-consumer sales from your own website. Essentially, the way it works is you have your website, a customer purchases a product from you. That order is then created and sent Lulu to be fulfilled. You then pay Lulu to fulfill the order, and then we print and ship the order directly to your customer. Hence the name, Lulu Direct. So what are the advantages of using Lulu Direct? Well, you maintain 100% of your revenue. So on lulu.com, your book is sold. It's a great bookstore. Everyone can find it, but you are splitting the revenue. Customers are coming, they're purchasing it from us. We're acting as kind of that intermediary. And because of that, we do take some percent of the revenue. Same thing with things like distribution. You know, you're putting on Amazon. Amazon's taking a cut of any kind of revenue that you earn for your book. But with Direct, you have your own website. You're running it through an e-commerce platform. So you are taking sales directly. So you're maintaining all that. You're only really paying us the cost to fulfill the order. Things like shipping and handling and the cost to print, fulfillment fee, even the small taxes, if applicable. Taxes get you everywhere. But the other advantage to using Lulu Direct is you maintain your customer data. So again, when you're making a sell on something like Amazon, and Amazon's facilitating that sell, or you're selling on lulus.com bookstore, customers are paying us, so we do have to maintain that data. We have to be kind of secure. We can't necessarily reveal who's buying your book. We can say, hey, your book was purchased, but we can't say who bought it. But if customers are buying stuff from you, you're maintaining that data. Tim is buying your book because you have my name, my address. That gives you more opportunity for things like reaching out for more products you're releasing, or creating some sort of newsletter to come out and keeping people engaged in your store. And so that is very valuable information to have. Another advantage to using Lulu Direct is you have customizable white label shipping. When something is purchased on lulu.com, it comes with a packing slip, it has Lulu branding all over it. But if you're buying it from you in your store and you're sending it through Lulu Direct, you can put your own branding on it. You can make it Tim's Books and, have your own logo. And that gives you that sense of, again, it's another sense of, maintaining ownership of your brand. And it's people knowing that they're buying from you and can kind of feel more trusted because you are kind of running your own business there. Everything is fully automated. Sales, printing, and shipping. You're not maintaining any kind of inventory. You're not having to buy 1,000 books. Someone buys your book, then you have to go and pack it up and ship it. And that takes time and effort that you could be spending elsewhere, take money for hiring employees that you could be, funneling elsewhere. Instead, you're just letting Lulu act as the print on demand supplier. So it's less upfront, less things you need upfront. You don't have to actually pay us anything until you want us to fulfill an order. So again, you're really, it's allowing you to run a business without huge costs because, again, everything is running through us. You're paying us to fulfill an order, you're maintaining revenue. The other advantage with Lulu Direct is it's plug and play. So what that means is you don't need huge technical support. You don't need to know how to integrate a complicated API or anything like that. So you can just kind of come in, install an app, type in a URL. It's a lot of clicking, but it's very, very doable for the average person. And that kind of helps, again, less upfront cost to having to hire developers and web people. It's really something that you can run and maintain yourself. And which platforms do we support with Lulu Direct? Well, right now we currently support Shopify, Wix, and WooCommerce. That means that if you run a Shopify, Wix, or WooCommerce website, you can essentially install an app. Again, type in a URL, a few clicks there, and everything gets connected, and you can begin fulfilling orders with Lulu Direct. So that's my quick rundown of Lulu Direct. I figured it'd be important just in case anyone here is just kind of curious about what Lulu Direct is and what it offers. Before we kind of go into some of the best practices, which is what we'll do now. So first thing to note with Lulu Direct is, again, you are running your own store. This is very much I have a website. I have timsbooks.com. I'm selling, maybe I wrote my own book. Maybe I'm selling, something like War of the Worlds, which is a free open book for anyone, something like that. I'm selling some kind of product. You really need to have the mindset that you are running a business. On lulu.com, using those bookstore options, it's great. You can just set it on there and forget it. Every month you get a nice little check revenue when your books are sold, and you can just kind of just sit back and earn your revenue and not have to really worry about managing customers and things. But with Lulu Direct, this is really designed for those who are like, I'm going to run a business. I want to grow my brand. I want to make a lot of sales and make profits and money. And I want to, and to do that, you really should have kind of that business mindset. Like, hey, I'm going to need to monitor customers, manage customers. I'm going to need to do all this stuff, which can sound very scary. But again, it's all about, it's about growth. It's about, making sure people know who you are as a company and not just, hey, go to Lulu and buy my book. And they know who Lulu is, which we're awesome. But, it's something where you can be like, hey, this is my brand. This is my store. And maybe you want to look at doing other products and other things. And that's what you can do because you'll have your own website and your own storefronts. So when setting up a store, there's a lot of questions. There are a lot of things that you have to really consider when it comes to thinking about the best things you should do when considering setting up with Lulu Direct. Probably the best advice that I can give you, and this is the number one thing I can tell people when they're first setting up their stores, give yourself time. I understand running at a really fast pace is great. You're very excited. You want to get your thing up. You want to get your book running. You want to let people know who you are. The problem is with doing that and running at a brisk pace and not really planning out, hey, I want to, make sure everything works. I want to make sure my product is great. It can really result in kind of a poor experience for your customer if something's not working right, or a product maybe just isn't up to the level that you want it to be at. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I am very much, I love tech. I'm a big guy. I love watching all the latest tech and stuff. You know, there's just a recent example, a couple of very big, you know, AI is huge right now. So a couple of startup companies were like, hey, we're going to release these nice little AI assistants. They're fantastic. They'll take over a lot of what you can do. You can just use it. They really rushed that product to the market because they're like, AI is hot. Let's get it out there fast and fast and fast. And everyone got their product and was like, this ain't great. And that really damaged their brand. And so really slowing down, taking the time, making sure you get things right, making sure that what you're, you know, sending to customers and everything are out that is as good of a quality as you want it to be, will be the best thing you can do going forward. And I can definitely tell you, I've had many times where contacted by business owners that are like, hey, started using your service, realized something was wrong. It's because they just really didn't take the time to slow down, make sure things are good. Another thing to do, and this is kind of relates to that slowing down, is ordering samples. You know, with Lulu Direct, you actually don't ever have to buy your book. You can just upload it and sell it to customers, which sounds great. It sounds like it's a convenient way to set it up. And you're more than welcome to do that. We're not going to sit there and restrict you from doing that, but we do really recommend ordering your book. And again, it's just having that physical copy, being able to hold it, knowing, hey, this is what it feels like. You know, this is what the customers are going to receive. It's really going to give you valuable experience in knowing what your customers might contact you about. So, and plus, you know, it's one of those things where you can take great pictures of your product. You can put them on your site, really sell your product, because people are going to want to see this. And the better, you know, the more physical product you have, the way you can set that up, take pictures, always going to be better than any kind of digital image asset that you can make. So definitely recommend physical products, and feel free to order multiple versions too. Like, that's the other thing. Maybe you want to sell a hardcover and a soft cover, but you're not sure. And so you can just order both versions, and then you'll be able to feel both kind of quality, and you'll be able to really list the product better for your customers. Test, test, and test again. Once again, I love tech, and I come from somewhat of a tech background, so I'm always very big on having people test their stuff. You know, you don't want to release something into the world and realize something's broken. Obviously, that will inevitably happen. Things break all the time. I can tell you from experience. Your computer will be working, and I'm sure you've had this. Your computer's weren't working great and fantastic. You've done nothing, and suddenly it stops working. But there are things you can do to mitigate these problems, and it's really just before you make your site available, before you create a new product and make it available. You know, try going through your checkout. Try the thing you're doing first. Make sure things are functioning properly. Orders are being sent to us. Products are being displayed properly. Prices are accurate, because that can be a big one. Because again, with Lulu Direct, you're selling. You're acting as that first level. You're the person listing your prices, and you can list your price for $10, and then suddenly you realize it's costing Lulu $10 to print. And you're not really making any money. So being able to kind of really test it and knowing, hey, this is what I should make. This is functioning right, is really going to give a better experience for your customers, for you. And again, another step of not having to reach out in panic because you're thinking, oh no, something's not working. I just went live, told everyone to go buy something, and something just really isn't functioning as intended. So really testing your site, your store, everything you can. Think about one thing we always like to tell people is when our team and our internal processes, like, try to break it. You know, try to see, because customers will figure out a way to break it. So as long as you're testing it and you're making sure things are working, things should function well. Have documented store policies. Again, you are running a store and a business. Having well documented policies will help not just you enforce your rules, but your customers understand what they are. You know, we are print on demand. So there's certain limitations with print on demand, like returns. Like, each book is custom printed. We can't really accept returns. As a store owner, maybe you want to accept returns. I mean, if you're going to be selling the same book over and over again, feel free to, allow the customer to return it to you. and then you can have that in stock and maybe fulfill it later. Maybe you want some physical copies in case you have maybe an event or something you're going to go to. You'll have that available for you. But ultimately, you kind of decide those policies. Again, you can let your customers know these are print on demand. Therefore, you don't accept returns either. It's just something you have to decide, what kind of policies you want to enable. And you're more than welcome to just copy and paste what Lulu has. I give that advice all the time. Just replace Lulu on all our stuff with your name, your store name here. So it's you just need to make sure you're deciding what those policies are, and just making sure that they are well documented. Therefore, that your customers are aware of what they can be. All right, moving on. So, best practices for a good customer experience. Once again, you are running your own store. So that means customers will be interacting with you. You are the front line. We are there and we are available for, if something happens, you can reach out to us, which I'll get to next. But customers will be contacting you initially. So one thing you really wanted to keep in mind is kind of having good prompt customer service. We tend to recommend 1 to 2 business days if possible. That just helps customers know that they're not emailing you and then you're responding a week later. It can be very, as a customer, I'm sure you can be frustrated if you reach out to someone and they don't respond to you in a fairly timely manner. Obviously, this doesn't necessarily mean work on the weekends. Obviously, you can certainly do that if you want, but I always recommend saying, things like making it identifiable that you'll talk to them within 1 to 2 business days, just simply because this will kind of set a standard that maybe you're not going to respond to them on the weekend. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Again, you just need to determine what is best for you and kind of stay consistent with your customers. Another thing you can really do to kind of help the customer experience is monitoring your orders. While everything is fully automated, as I mentioned earlier, things break. Your computer can be running perfectly fine one day, and then the next day it stops for no reason that makes any sense. Monitoring your orders will just allow for swift action in case something happens. There are some things that are kind of outside even our control and your control as well. For instance, maybe a customer says, I want you to ship this to street. And you're like, I don't know what street is. And, we will have things in place that will say, like, this doesn't look like a valid address. And so monitoring your orders will allow to get those, find those orders and those issues promptly. Again, allow you to reach out to your customers when it does happen, even if it is, again, fairly rare. That would allow you to take action promptly, and your customer, again, won't reach out to you a month later like, I never received my book. What's going on? I'm frustrated. But allowing you to, again, take those in a responsible manner, fast, responsible manner. Set shipment expectations. Once again, we are print on demand. That means there is a fulfillment time from when someone places the order, we have to print it, and then we ship it. We don't have a stock of these anywhere. That is kind of, again, the catch with print on demand. The obvious advantages, again, as I said previously, you're not having to pay for a bunch of upfront orders, but that does mean it's going to take time to fulfill things. And we live in a world with Amazon. And it's just the fact that everyone, even I'm super accustomed to going, I need something, let me get 2-day shipping, and then I get in a couple days, or even same-day shipping. That's just a reality we live in, and I think a lot of people expect that. So, again, letting people know that these are print-on-demand products, being very upfront about it, it does give you, it does make the product more premium. It's not just one on a shelf that someone produced a million of somewhere in China and shipped it somewhere. It is a premium product being printed every time. Therefore, you can kind of, you can use that to your advantage and let your customers know that's what this is. And that will help people know that, hey, this will take time to produce, it take time to ship, and that really does help. All right. And kind of the last major point and topic I will get on is best practices when it comes to contacting us. Your customers, again, will be talking to you. You won't be talking to us directly, or at least the customers won't be talking to us directly. So what that means is you will need to talk to us. That means there's multiple chains. We tend to be pretty well when you're contacting Lulu direct support. We are actually, as I mentioned earlier, we are a smaller but a specialized team specifically for Lulu Direct. So we try to get sure we get all responses in within one business day. So obviously, if you reach out to us at 8 p.m. on a Friday, we probably won't reach out back to you till Monday. But if you reach out to us at 8 a.m. on a Monday, you'll probably hear a response from that same day. So it is going to be important when you're contacting us, you kind of take a few steps ahead of time, just because otherwise we're emailing you back. That kind of delays some things. And really, if you want to have a faster experience, this will kind of help that. Especially, again, you're dealing with customers. They're going to wait for a response from you, and you're waiting a response from us at times. So first thing you can do is just document the issue, take some screenshots. It definitely does help. You can write a paragraph of what your experience, but sometimes just having a visual representation of, hey, this isn't this is what we see, what's going on. That kind of helps us. It really does help us kind of speed things along faster, and we can get to helping you faster. Which again, you're running a store, you really want to make sure everything is running as fast and as optimal as possible. So another thing you can do to kind of help speed up the process, anytime you have a customer issue, for instance, maybe a book doesn't arrive, you're not having to replace those. You can reach out and we can replace those for you. But you can confirm things with your customer first. Just say, hey, the shipping address you gave me, is that accurate? Oh, you received the wrong book. Can you give me more information? What did you buy? Let me see. And you confirm that with them first, and then you talk to us. And that's, again, speeds up the process. We don't have to say, hey, did you confirm the shipping address? You can just let us know right out, and we can replace the book typically right away. So that way you're dealing with a lot faster times. You're not having to wait for production, because again, we'll have to reprint the book, which is going to take more time. So the faster we get that resolved, the faster we can do. We can support you. Another thing you can do to help us is kind of create a new ticket for each order inquiry. Obviously, if you have like one big issue with your store, like, hey, I need help setting up this and this and this, that can be a single ticket. But if you're dealing with, Joe's order and John's order and Jacob's order, it's easier when you're having a new ticket for each. This isn't just for us, it's also for you. Allows you to keep things nice and organized. You're not having to run through a entire email list of things and like, hey, let me check this one, let me check this one. You just know, hey, this email thread's for Joe, this ticket's for John, and it just kind of keeps things organized and keeps things running at kind of a faster level. Because again, you're as a customer, as someone who's going to be dealing with customers on a regular basis, they're really going to want some very fast responses, as fast as you can do. All right. So those are kind of what I would call the general best practices when it comes to setting up and running your store. As I said, we'll get into some Q&A later, but before we go on, I do want to highlight one new thing for people who are using Lulu Direct, and that is variants. So variants are a very popular and very requested feature we had, and we just recently made them available for WooCommerce. Wix will be very soon. We did run into a little bit of a roadblock getting them integrated on Wix with Wix itself, but we are kind of working through those and should be available soon. Specific ETA, but especially if you're using WooCommerce right now, it is available for you to try. And if you're like, well, what is a variant? Because it is a terminology that you kind of learn and get used to, if you are, in our world, dealing with websites. But for people that might not be fully understanding what they essentially are a way for you to have a single product and list multiple different types. For instance, you can see here how like I'm listing a War of the Worlds books, and you have different options straight on this page, and that's what variants will allow you to do. And the way they work is very simple within the Lulu Direct dashboard. You can go in, you click on the product, you select the style name, you select the style, you enter a style name, and then enter different options. You'll see how I have like an ebook option, a hardcover option, and a paperback option. And those will give you those options, or customers those options to select from a single page instead of having a dedicated product page to each version of the book. Here's kind of another screenshot of how it will look and functions. One thing you will notice is not every option has a thing selected to it. That's because you really only have to select the options that are going to be fulfilled from Lulu. With Lulu Direct, it is only available for print books, but WooCommerce and Wix both have options to sell digital assets. And so you can use those options to connect to that particular variant and be like, hey, if someone buys the ebook, we don't want anything sent to Lulu, but we're going to have this particular app or extension plugin. Each platform calls them something different. Kind of fulfill the digital version of that book, and then you only have to connect the ones that are actually being fulfilled from us, and we will only bother if someone orders the actual physical version that you connected and not any other thing. All right. That's it. That's kind of just want to give you that quick little overview of what variants are. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tim. You did it again. Nailed it. It's almost like you've done this before. So thank you so much for going over that. Drop your questions in the Q&A tab for Tim. And the first one, and I'm going to kind of modify this a little bit, but can Lulu Direct or Lulu in general work with Barnes & Noble? And as you're answering this, Tim, could you kind of give us just like a comparison of General Lulu versus Lulu Direct and how those kind of intersect?
Yeah. So right now, again, as I kind of mentioned at the start, is we have multiple different business lines. What we call is Lulu.com is when you make it available for sale on Lulu.com, or you go through our distribution partners. So what that means is you can allow us to list it on places like Barnes & Noble, which we do connect with, and we do also with Amazon, and we also work with Ingram, who you might not know or you might know. But they distribute to a lot of independent websites and brick and mortar stores. But we work with all of those platforms, and we do make it available. Now with Lulu Direct, you do not have to distribute your book. You do not have to go through those lines. Currently, it does work. You can come and publish a project on Lulu.com and make it available through distribution and through Lulu Direct for Wix and WooCommerce. Shopify does function a little bit differently, but I can give you a little bit of a tip or heads up that we will be having an update for our Shopify app within the next month or so. That will bring that connectivity so you can come and publish a project through Lulu Direct and make it available for distribution. One thing I do want to note, though, with distribution and publishing on, making it available on Barnes & Noble is we do have limited SKUs, so limited project specifications that can be distributed. And the best way the reason why that is actually is because when we do send it to Barnes & Noble and someone orders it off of Barnes & Noble, they actually fulfill the order. So we can only distribute products that they can print. So you might find a product you're like, I really love these coil bound options, but I can't distribute them. It's just simply because Barnes & Noble can't print those. But that's why Lulu Direct exists, is because you can have your own website and you can still sell the coil bound options through Direct.
Yeah, perfect. It's like, I don't know if you saw the follow-up question, but the follow-up question is, my book is spiral bound. So yeah, I would just add on to that yes, for global distribution, as Tim said, coil bound, spiral bound is not eligible for that. However, Lulu Direct is the perfect solution for that. And then I would also say, as you're building your book on Lulu, there is an icon. It's like a green globe with a green book that indicates if your books are distribution eligible. So our book pricing calculator is a very robust and amazing tool that you can use to figure out if the book you're making does fit those requirements. So if you haven't made the book yet, you can play around and make sure it is distro eligible, or you can go and set up your Lulu Direct store and then sell those books, no problem. Another thing that's great about Lulu Direct is you don't have to have an ISBN. That may or may not matter to you, but if that's something that you would like to do or would like to kind of not do, actually, you can sell books through your Lulu Direct store without an ISBN. So thank you for those questions. The next one from Sabrina, will it be available physically in Barnes & Noble, or is it only ebook? All right, so I think this is a follow-up to the Barnes & Noble question. And Tim, I'm going to take this one. Feel free to hop in if I misspeak. But basically, you can list your book through global distribution on Barnes & Noble. What that means is that it's available in their catalog. So anyone can go to their website and find it, search it, and find it and purchase it. However, if you want it to be in a physical brick and mortar store, Barnes and Noble, then you will need to talk to your local branch, or that's a conversation you'll need to have with them. And then, we have certainly had authors that have had those conversations, and Barnes and Noble will host their physical book, but it's just more of a conversation that you would have with Barnes and Noble. You think that was pretty accurate response, Tim?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I will add is that if someone goes into Barnes and Noble and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this book," if it's within their catalog, they can still find it. And then they'll be like, "Hey, you have to go buy it here." So why not be physical available in the store? If someone does go in and ask a particular representative, or some customer service person in the store, they would still be able to find the book. They would just have to kind of look through their catalog.
Exactly. Yes. All right. Lonnie is asking a question that I think is going to test your technical knowledge. This is a bit outside of books on Lulu, but they're asking, have you experienced with Lulu users who sell access to a website that offers digital content like images and videos? What do you recommend for establishing unique logins for each customer? Tim, do you have anything for this question?
Well, so it depends on a few things. First off, if you're going to create a brand new website, not use some like e-commerce platform, then that's a whole nother technical question I wouldn't be able to necessarily get in with you today. But if you're using something like Shopify or WooCommerce, they do have options to allow customers create logins and manage them. For the most part, though, a lot of that will be running through apps and stuff that you run. So we can't really help you too much with that because each app is different. There are a lot of fantastic apps that work great that you'll essentially just install into your website that will kind of manage that digital content. What I can say from at least my experience, most stores that I've worked with that sell digital content, what they typically do is they don't really have a per user experience. And the way it functions is that someone orders the ebook or something like that, and it sends them an email with a download link to access it. So they don't actually have a login or kind of something they can go and access their kind of their order stuff, their downloads or anything like that on their site itself. It's all handled through email. At least that's typical experience with what I've seen with most people that use kind of Lulu Direct.
Yeah, and I would say you may want to explore a Patreon or Substack or Ream. Maybe these are some just subscriptions that may be worth exploring that do kind of have an opportunity for you to do gated content. And then, as Tim said, there are so many apps that you can use that may be covering this that we are not aware of. So thank you for that question. All right, and Tim, I know we talked about, so we integrate currently with Lulu Direct with Shopify, Wix, and WooCommerce. We were talking about this before we went live, but can you talk a little bit about kind of the difficulty levels or any key differentiators for these platforms that may help folks find the right one?
Yeah. So each have their advantages. Wix and Shopify, I would classify as the two closest in terms of how they function and operate as a platform level kind of experience. I will say Wix tends to be a little cheaper, so a lot of people like that options. Shopify does have various good shop options, but I would definitely say in terms of ease of use, Shopify and Wix would be the easiest to kind of manage from a platform level. And Shopify, we do have an app that you have to install, which can be a little bit more complicated than the way everything works through our Lulu Direct dashboard on lulu.com. But that experience will be changing very shortly so that it will look very similar. But I would definitely say, like, if you're someone that's like, I want something that just functions, that works very well, that is ease of use, I would definitely say Shopify and Wix are kind of your two main candidates there. WooCommerce is fantastic in terms of the flexibility and the customization it offers you, but it is very much what I would classify as a do-it-yourself platform. Lulu Direct is definitely still kind of a plug and play option. You come, you put in your URL and you log in and everything connects and functions well. But because you are kind of relying on running your own server or, ordering a server from a different host that might have their own security settings, their own things, you are kind of more reliant on running and managing that kind of system. I wouldn't necessarily call it complicated, but as I said, it is definitely much more do it yourself. It's less fully featured. You have to get more plugins and extensions to get everything that Wix and Shopify offers you just out of the gate. But there are certain, as I said, certain advantages in terms of the customization that WooCommerce gives you. And I will say it works with WordPress, which is the number one kind of platform around. So that tends to be pretty popular.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, going back to something that you said in your presentation, giving yourself enough time is so crucial. And then, testing and the customer service part. I think giving yourself enough time and the customer service piece is something that is often overlooked. So I'm glad that you really hit on that, because that can just save you time as a creator and make sure that when you go to market, you really have everything tightened up and you know how it's going to work.
Yeah.
All right. So, go ahead.
I was just going to mention one other thing. Each of these platforms do have their own, like, hey, try me limited time periods. So feel free to just go and try each one, figure out which works best for you.
Yes, that is great advice. All right. For anyone who is on the call today, who has not started with Lulu Direct, but is interested in getting started, what is kind of the best starting point, would you say?
The best starting point is the first, actually, what I would say the best starting point is to reach out to one of our knowledgeable specialists. We have a sell on your own site page that you can go to, fill out a little form. And what that'll do is get you in contact with a couple of our great people that you may have seen on a webinar before, Victoria and Claire.
Yes.
And they can kind of give you a real good rundown of what Lulu Direct has, the features, and the different platforms we support. Other things you can just do is research. Like, as I said, we do 3 different platforms. Each platform, while they do function similarly in some vein, they do have their own quirks and intricacies that you might just want to look into and see which will work best for you. Another good thing is to get started, I would say, is really work on your book. It's great to kind of look at the store settings and stuff like that, but if you don't have a product to sell, making sure that's tightened up, that you know what you want to sell. As I said, you're doing editing, samples, things like that. Those can all be first steps you take before you kind of engage and figure out what platform works better for you.
Perfect. Yeah. I know when we start talking about the sales methods and how to use Lulu Direct and distribution, you kind of push the book writing part to the side. But that is, of course, a very critical part of this process working for you. And I would also say, if you're interested in creating print products to sell for your business, but maybe you're not ready to write your novel yet, or your nonfiction book, low and no content books are also a great option as well. And we have a lot of free templates on Lulu for blank notebook interiors. And you can create a cover on Lulu as well. And so that can be kind of an easy way to get your foot in the door. Just get familiar with the process and create a product that can be really useful for your audience. All right. So I did drop the link in the chat. That's lulu.com/sell on your site. So as Tim mentioned, that can put you in touch with Claire and Victoria. Great folks. They'll be happy to work with you on getting your store set up. And if you have enough issues or cause enough problems, you may even be lucky enough to talk to Tim yourself. So thank you, everyone. I would say check out our website. We also have a great knowledge base that has questions. We have videos on our YouTube channel, tutorials walking through each of these platforms, how to get set up. And also some great resources on how to finish that book and format it appropriately. That is, as we said, a big part of this. So I just want to thank everyone so much today for your questions, for your time, for spending some time with us today. Keep an eye out. We will send a follow-up email with a survey in it, as well as some additional information about the recording and Lulu Direct in general. So keep an eye out for that. Tim, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insights and expertise on this. Thank you so much. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Oh, were you going to say goodbye? I thought you were just going to say.
It's fine.
All right. If you have any words of wisdom you want to close out with, I'll give you the floor.
Just thank you for coming today.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Tim, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Very much appreciate your time. Hope you have a wonderful day wherever you're hailing from, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.